The camera opens on a bright Sunday morning, with soft sunlight filtering through the curtains of an elegant mansion. Shadows dance on the walls while the sounds of the distant city drift in through the open window. Inside, the silence is broken by the sound of soft footsteps. Helena, a simple woman with delicate gestures, enters the room, carrying a coffee on a tray, her hair still up in a bun, the serene expression of someone dedicated to her work. She places the tray on the desk where Marcus Ribeiro, a man in his 30s, is already immersed in his computer, surrounded by papers and documents, as if the world outside didn't exist. He gives a weak smile when he sees the coffee being placed in front of him. Marcus, looking at the coffee, always so punctual. Thank you, Helena. Helena, smiling softly. Just doing my job, sir. They exchange a quick glance, and the tension between them is subtle but present. He no longer seems as present as before. The smile he gives Helena is automatic, almost lifeless. Raquel, his wife, is not there. She travels constantly for business, and this has created a void in the home, especially for Marcus, who seems to sink deeper and deeper into his work routine. The camera follows Arthur, the couple's 7-year-old son, running through the corridors. He enters the room with an innocent smile, his hair messy, his eyes shining with curiosity. Arthur, jumping onto Marcus in lap. "Daddy, Daddy! I want to see the dinosaurs on TV!" Marcus, with a sigh, trying to be affectionate, but visibly tired. "Later, son. Now, let Daddy work, okay?" Arthur, serious, with an unusual expression for his age. "Okay, but we'll go tomorrow, right? I promise I'll help you with the dinosaurs." Marcus, looking at his son, a look that mixes love and tiredness. "Tomorrow, I promise." Helena, who was watching the scene, felt a slight pain in her chest. Arthur, with his harmless energy, is the only one who really seems to break the monotony of the house, and yet the relationship between father and son is becoming increasingly distant. That night, the atmosphere is different. Raquel is still out of town. The family dinner, something that used to be a tradition, has been replaced by a simple dish prepared by Helena. The house is silent, except for the murmurs of the wind. While Marcus and Arthur dine at the table, Helena watches from the corner of the room, a shadow on her face. She tries hard to hide her feelings. Work and living together have distanced her more and more from her bosses, but she still feels the weight of responsibility, as if she were part of something bigger. Marcus, after a long silence, almost as if he were talking to himself. "Helena, I've noticed something strange about Arthur lately. He hasn't been behaving like he used to." Helena, worried, but trying to remain calm. "What do you mean, sir?" Marcus, with slight frustration. He's acting strange. I can't explain it. It's as if something's going on and he won't tell me." Helena, trying to be neutral, still not fully understanding. "He's just a child, sir. Children have phases." Marcus, sinking into thought, almost oblivious to Helena's presence. "I don't know. It doesn't seem like a phase. He doesn't talk to me that much. Or to you, Helena. It's as if he's holding something back." Helena feels a tightness in her chest. What Marcus doesn't know is that, deep down, Arthur has become more distant for a reason he can't even imagine. The boy knows more than he seems to, but what he does know is something that could destroy everything. He hesitates, afraid to speak the truth, afraid that the consequences will be even more serious. What seemed like an ordinary evening takes a strange turn. In the early hours of the morning, while everyone is asleep, Arthur wakes up and quietly goes to Marcus' office. He takes a piece of paper from the office and starts scribbling something with his blue pen. Nobody sees him. He writes something that will later be the key to the outcome of this story. Back in her room, Helena wakes up to the sound of light footsteps and goes into the hallway, curious. She sees Arthur looking at the paper with a pensive expression. The child quickly hides what he has written, but the gesture does not go unnoticed by Helena. She senses something strange in the air, something she can't fully understand, but knows she can't ignore. The next morning, Marcus finds the torn piece of paper lying on the floor of the office. On it, there is a drawing of a dinosaur, and one word, secret. Marcus is silent for a moment, the word echoing in his mind. He feels a twinge of doubt, and like a mind obsessed with the search for truth, his distrust begins to grow, fueled by the shadow of a mystery he still doesn't understand. Helena is the only person Arthur lives with as much as he does, but he can't imagine that this has anything to do with it. Not yet. Later that day, Marcus starts asking Helena questions directly. Marcus, with a cold, blunt stare. "Helena, what's going on with Arthur? He's holding something back. Do you know what it is?" Helena, swallowing, trying to keep her composure. Sir, I don't know what you're talking about. Arthur is just growing up. Children are complicated, sir. Marcus, already irritated. No, that's not it. He has something to hide. I saw what he wrote. What is he trying to hide? Helena, tense, but not knowing how to answer. I can't answer for him, sir. Marcus, exploding. I'm not going to sit here while you protect my son. If you know something, tell me now. Marcus's shout echoes through the house, and Helena, feeling the weight of the words, begins to tremble. She tries to move away, but something grips her. What's going on? Arthur is hiding something, but is he so distant from his father because he feels the pressure of being treated like a stranger in his own home? The next morning arrives with the house still tense. Marcus is determined to find out what is happening to his son, but his frustration grows as the answers seem more and more elusive. He watches Arthur as the boy plays alone in the garden, lost in a world of imagination. Arthur's innocence is a stark contrast to the growing doubt that consumes Marcus. In the living room, Helena is busy organizing the house, but she can't ignore the heavy atmosphere. She senses that something is about to happen, but she doesn't know what. Marcus enters the room abruptly, his eyes fixed on Arthur in the garden. Marcus, with a firm but already angry tone of voice. Helena, tell me the truth. What's happening to my son? He's not the same. Helena, trying to remain calm. Sir, I don't know what's happening to him. Children change sometimes. Marcus, interrupting suspiciously. No, it's not just that. He's holding something back, and you know what it is. Just then, Arthur rushes in, his face pale and his eyes frightened. He's clearly shaken by something, but doesn't know how to express his fears. He sees his father and the maid arguing and immediately hides behind Helena, as if her presence were his only protection. Arthur, with tear-filled eyes. Papa, I don't want to talk about it. I can't. Marcus, now totally out of control, shouting, You can't. Are you lying to me? Arthur, what are you hiding? Helena tries to intervene, but the pressure of the situation silences her. She sees Arthur trembling, and Helena's heart squeezes. She knows something is very wrong, but she doesn't have the strength to speak. The atmosphere in the house is unbearable. The atmosphere, which used to be welcoming, is now charged with a tension that seems impossible to dispel. Marcus can no longer control himself. He is convinced that someone he trusted has done something irreparable to his son. Helena, the woman who has been in his home for years, is now viewed with suspicion. Arthur, who used to be a cheerful, lively child, is now just a shadow of his former self. The father, in his desperation, takes a drastic decision. Marcus, pointing at Helena, in a firm, accusatory voice. You're leaving, Helena. Now, there's no more room for you here. I can't trust you anymore. Helena, shocked, not knowing how to react. Sir, please, I've never done anything wrong. I care for Arthur with all my heart. I would never do anything to harm him. Marcus, cold eyes, without hesitation. I don't want to hear any more. You're leaving now, and if you try to come back, I'll call the police. Helena's pain is immense. She looks at Arthur, who is paralyzed with fear, not knowing what to do. The boy tries to approach his maid, but is interrupted by his father. Arthur, desperate, crying, Papa, please, no, don't send Helena away. She hasn't done anything. Marcus, angrily, ignoring his son. Be quiet, Arthur. You don't know anything. Helena tries to explain again, but it's no use. Marcus is overcome with rage and no words can change his mind. He orders Helena to get her things and leave the house immediately. Helena, voice breaking. I don't know what's going on, but I would never hurt that boy. She starts to pick up her things, with a lump in her throat, feeling helpless. Arthur watches her, not knowing what to do. He feels torn between his loyalty to Helena, who has always looked after him, and his fear of his father, who seems to have made an irreversible decision. After Helena leaves, the house becomes even quieter. Arthur retreats to his room, his face marked by tears, and Marcus goes off to his study. The millionaire feels a pang of regret, but doesn't know how to turn back. He feels betrayed, and the emptiness he had previously ignored now seems unbearable. He tries to justify his attitude, but guilt begins to eat away at his conscience. Marcus, looking in the mirror, talking to himself. I didn't do it wrong. I didn't. I had to do it. I had to protect Arthur. But deep down, he knows that something isn't right. He starts to relive the moments when Helena was close to Arthur, as if she had done something wrong. He tries to convince himself that he made the right decision, but the images of the trust he once had in Helena begin to mix with fear and insecurity. Meanwhile, Raquel, who is returning from her business trip, begins to receive confusing messages from Marcus. She tries to call him several times, but he doesn't answer. When she gets home, she finds a cold and desolate house. The first to find her is Arthur, who runs towards her and hugs her tightly. Raquel, worried, stroking her son's hair. "What's happened, darling? Where's Helena?" Arthur, with a broken voice. "Mom, Helena left. Dad sent her away." Raquel, eyes widening in shock. "What? Why?" Arthur, trying to explain, but his words are muddled and he can't find a way to make himself understood. I don't know. She just wanted to help me. She didn't do anything." Raquel feels a pang of pain and mistrust. She knows Marcus. She knows how impulsive he can be. Something isn't right. She decides, without telling Marcus, to investigate what really happened. She searches the house for clues, but finds more doubts than answers. Later, Raquel finds a diary under Arthur's bed. When she opens it, she begins to read. The contents of the diary surprise her. Arthur writes about dinosaurs, about adventures, but also about secrets. He talks about a surprise he was preparing for his mother, without telling his father. But the word secret appears several times, in disconnected sentences that seem to reflect his confusion and fear. Raquel remains silent for a few moments, processing the information. A chill runs down her spine. Arthur isn't lying. He's just trying to hide something that he thinks will make the situation worse. The tension reaches breaking point. Marcus has made an irreversible decision, and now he will have to deal with the consequences. The audience, already immersed in the narrative, begins to feel the same doubt as the characters. What really happened? After the incident with Helena, the tension in the house is palpable. Marcus tries to move on, busy with his work and trying to avoid a confrontation with Raquel, but the silence between the two is deafening. Raquel senses that something is wrong, but can't figure out what. When she reads Arthur's diary, her suspicions become clearer. Her son is hiding something. But what could be so serious that he would feel compelled to lie to his parents? Raquel, thinking, frowning. What is he trying to hide? Why is he so scared? She decides to confront Marcus, who still refuses to discuss what happened. When Raquel enters the office, the atmosphere is charged. Marcus, red-eyed and tired, tries to continue his work, ignoring his wife's presence. Raquel places Arthur's diary on the table with a stern expression. Raquel, bluntly, "What's going on, Marcus? I found Arthur's diary. He's hiding something, and it's not just about dinosaurs." Marcus, looking at the diary, his jaw tense. "He's just being a child, Rachel. It's no big deal." Raquel, with a firm voice, but a touch of concern, "Do you really think he's just playing, Marcus? Something's not right. You're accusing Helena for no clear reason. And now, our son is involved in all this." Marcus, agitated, getting up from his chair. "I did what I had to do. I can't allow anyone to harm us, Raquel. I can't risk Arthur's safety." Raquel, looking at him with pain in her eyes. "Safety? What are you saying, Marcus? Do you really think Helena would harm our son? You've known her for so many years. You've always trusted her." Marcus, shouting in a moment of maximum frustration. "She was too close to Arthur. Too close. And he was acting strange. I can't ignore that." Raquel, with a squeezed heart, almost in tears. "There's nothing strange about Arthur, Marcus. He's a child. He's scared. And you're pushing the person who's always looked after him out of our house. Without an explanation." Marcus, silent, staring at the floor, fighting his own emotions. I don't know what to think anymore. I just know that something is wrong." This confrontation further intensifies the mistrust between the two. Raquel, although she seems calmer, begins to feel more and more alienated inside the house. She decides that, in order to understand what is happening to her son and her husband, she needs to investigate on her own. The next morning, Raquel wakes up early, quietly, so as not to wake Marcus. She gets dressed quickly and decides to visit Marcus's former maid, who happened to work in the house before Helena. She knew that this woman, Marisa, might know more about Marcus' behavior and how he dealt with his family before. Marisa's house is simple, in contrast to the Ribeiro mansion. Upon entering, Raquel feels more at ease, as if she were approaching a truth she had not yet encountered. Marisa, an elderly woman, welcomes Raquel with an attentive and curious look. Raquel, untangling her hair with a worried expression. "Marisa, I need your help. I'm desperate. Something is happening to my son, and I don't know who to trust anymore." Marisa, with a sad look on her face, almost as if she already knew what she was going to say. "Has something happened to Helena?" Raquel, surprised, but determined. "How do you know?" Marisa, sighing deeply. looking back at the past. I worked with you and your husband for a long time, Raquel. I know how he acts when he's suspicious. He never dealt well with any situation that threatened the image of perfection he had built up. He's always been afraid of losing control. But that's not all, is it? Arthur's behavior? He changed because something happened, didn't he? Something he can't understand. Raquel, staring, trying to understand. What are you trying to tell me? Marisa, pausing, as if choosing her words carefully. It's not for me to say, Raquel, but I can give you a clue. When Helena started working at the house, she was very close to Arthur. More than just an employee. They understood each other in a very deep way, and that created a kind of bond. Raquel, confused, heart beating faster. A bond? What do you mean, a bond? Marisa, looking at Raquel with eyes that seemed to carry a sad story. When Helena started working for you, Arthur was going through a difficult phase. He felt his mother's absence, and Helena, she looked after him in a way that no one else did. I'm not talking about something malicious, but something deep, something that might not have been healthy over time. The child needed someone, and Helena became more than just a maid. She became almost a second mother. Raquel, swallowing dryly, her heart heavy with worry. You mean Marcus was right to be suspicious of her? Marisa, shaking her head sadly. No, that's not it. Helena never did anything wrong. Raquel, she took care of Arthur with her heart, and I know that. But Marcus, he was always terrified of losing authority, of losing control over his life and his family. When he realized that Helena was too close to his son, he began to doubt, to feel threatened. And this led him to make impulsive decisions that could destroy everything he had built. Raquel, trying to understand the gravity of the situation. And do you think that was the reason Marcus pushed Helena away? Out of fear. Marisa, with a look of deep sadness. Fear, Raquel, is a dangerous thing, and he's afraid of losing control, of losing everything. After this conversation with Marisa, Raquel feels she has to go home and talk to Arthur. She can't wait any longer. She knows that Marcus is obsessed with his own suspicions, but she needs to hear what Arthur has to say, with an open heart. When she arrives, Arthur is in the garden, playing by himself, looking away. He doesn't notice his mother's presence, but she quietly approaches him and sits down next to him. Raquel, in a soft, reassuring voice, "Son, what happened? Why are you so sad? You can tell me everything." Arthur, looking at her, his eyes full of tears, finally letting the words out. "I didn't want Dad to be angry, Mom. I just wanted him to like me. I just wanted not to feel so alone." Raquel, hugging him affectionately, not fully understanding, but feeling her son's pain. "Arthur, you'll never be alone. You are loved. Always." Arthur, crying now, with immense pain in his voice. "I know Helena didn't do anything wrong, but Dad was scared. Mom, he was afraid that I loved Helena more than him, and that made him leave me alone." After her conversation with Arthur, Raquel felt completely bewildered. She knew that things weren't right between her and Marcus, but she never imagined that he would be so obsessed with controlling the family. Helena was no threat to him, but for Marcus, anyone who got too close to his son could be seen as a rival, an intruder in his perfect life. Raquel, thinking as she walks through the house, how could he do that to her? With Helena, how could he accuse her without even listening to my son? I have to talk to him. But what else is he hiding from me? She goes up the stairs and straight into Marcus' office. He is sitting there, looking at the papers and documents scattered on his desk, but his gaze is distant. Raquel knocks firmly on the door, feeling the adrenaline coursing through her veins. The moment to confront him has arrived. Raquel, entering, her voice controlled but full of pain. "Marcus, we need to talk." Marcus, without looking at her, still immersed in the papers, but visibly tense. "Not now, Raquel. I'm busy." Raquel, with a firmer tone, forcing him to look at her. "No, Marcus. Now. We both need to talk now." He looks at her, and for the first time in days, Raquel sees an expression of true vulnerability on his face. But the pain he feels doesn't justify what he's done. "Raquel," bluntly, "Helena didn't do anything wrong. And you can't go on acting like this, accusing people without proof. What happened to you? When did you start being so afraid of losing control?" Marcus, looking at her, his voice tense and full of repressed anger. "I'm not losing control, Raquel. I'm just trying to protect our family. You don't understand. Helena was taking my place with Arthur. Didn't you realize? He started to trust her more than me. He started going to her whenever he needed something. And it got out of hand. I couldn't let that happen." Raquel, with a trembling but determined voice, "You're so blinded by fear that you can't see that Arthur just wanted to be loved, that he missed a mother figure, and Helena was there for him. You didn't see her as she really was, Marcus. She didn't want to replace anyone. She just wanted to look after her son, as she always did. Marcus, standing up abruptly, now visibly agitated. You don't understand. I saw something you didn't see. I saw the way she looked at him. I saw the way she stood too close to him. She was becoming a mother to him. Raquel, and I can't allow that. I am the father. I'm the only one responsible for him. Raquel, realizing the magnitude of the situation, with tears in her eyes, you're so lost in your own fear and pride that you can't see what Arthur really needs. He doesn't need a war between us, Marcus. He needs love. He needs trust. He needs you to stop seeing enemies where there are none. Marcus, stopping suddenly, his expression somber, his gaze distant. So what do you suggest? That I sit back while he goes further and further into her? That I let someone else look after my son better than me? Raquel, calmly but resolutely. No, Marcus, I suggest you look at Arthur and realize that he's just trying to find a little love and affection. He never wanted to replace you. And Helena never wanted to take your place. You did it on your own. You drove everyone away from you with your own fears. Now we have to deal with the consequences of that decision. After arguing with Marcus, Raquel knows that the only way to resolve this situation is to make Marcus understand Arthur's pain. She finds her son in the garden, sitting alone on a bench with his head down. Arthur is still very shaken, and his mother's words echo in his mind. He no longer knew how to express himself, or how to get rid of the fears that consumed him. He just wanted everything to go back to normal. Raquel, sitting down next to him, with a soft smile. Arthur, are you all right? Arthur, shaking his head, crying a little. I didn't want Dad to be so angry, Mom. I just wanted him to love me, to listen to me. I don't want anyone to replace me. I just want everything to go back to the way it was before. Raquel, hugging him tightly, feeling the weight of the situation on her chest. I know, my love. I know, you're not alone. Your father and I will find a way to resolve this, okay? Arthur, putting his hand to his eyes to dry his tears. I just want Dad to look at me the way he used to protect me. I didn't want him to be angry with Helena. She never did anything wrong. She just helped me, paid attention to me. Raquel, looking at her son with a deep gaze, as if preparing for the next step. I know, darling, and I'm going to talk to Dad. I'll explain everything to him. Meanwhile, Helena is at home, alone. She has received the news that she has been fired without explanation, and her mind is full of doubts and anguish. She feels betrayed, not just by Marcus, but by the whole situation. She knows that her bond with Arthur was something pure and genuine, but could that bond be the reason for all the pain now? She thinks about what to do. Helena loves the child as if he were her own, but if the situation continues like this, she won't have any more space in his life, and she doesn't want to be the cause of any more suffering. Helena, thinking to herself with a heavy heart, I never wanted to hurt anyone. I just wanted to look after him. But is that what happened? Am I leaving Arthur's life for good? Will he never look at me the way he used to? She picks up the phone and calls Raquel, unsure of what to say. The conversation they have later is crucial to everyone's fate. The phone rings, and Raquel answers. It's Helena. Helena, with a shaky voice. Raquel, I need to talk to you. I don't know what to do anymore. I love Arthur very much, but I don't want to be the cause of his family's destruction. Raquel, with a sigh, preparing herself for what's to come. Helena, I know what happened. I know you never wanted to hurt anyone. Marcus has his own demons, but we'll find a solution to this. Believe me, you didn't do anything wrong. Helena, silent for a moment. So you're telling me that I can come back, that I can help Arthur again? Raquel, looking at Marcus from a distance, with renewed conviction. Yes, Helena, you can come back. Arthur needs you. We all do. After the revealing conversation with Helena, Raquel feels that the dynamic between her, Marcus, and Arthur is finally about to change. But the situation is still delicate. Marcus is still stuck in his own fears, and his relationship with Arthur seems to be fragmenting more and more. Raquel knows that the worst is yet to come, but she also feels that the only way to save her family is to face the problem head on. Raquel, thinking to herself, silently, I need to make him see what's happening. Marcus needs to wake up. He's sinking into his own obsession and doesn't see how much he's hurting all of us. She walks to Marcus' office, where he is once again immersed in his thoughts. Raquel takes a deep breath, prepares herself for the battle to come, and knocks on the door. Marcus, raising his eyes, looking tired. What now, Raquel? I've said all I need to say. Raquel, entering, looking determined. No, Marcus, you haven't said everything, and today, you're going to hear what I have to say. I'm not going to keep quiet any longer. Marcus, irritated, but feeling the growing tension. I've already told you that I can't trust anyone anymore. Not even you. You don't understand, Raquel. Raquel, calmly but firmly. Marcus, you need to hear what's going on. It's not just Helena or Arthur who are suffering from your choices. I am too, but what hurts me most is that you're not seeing the son you have in front of you. He's not asking you to be perfect. He just wants you to love him. Marcus, angry but visibly shaken. I love Arthur. Raquel, I just wanted to protect him. I don't want him to get hurt again. I don't want him to get away from me like he did with Helena. Raquel, interrupting, with sadness in her eyes. He's turning away from you because you're turning him away, Marcus. You're so obsessed with control that you don't see how much he needs you. He feels he can't trust you anymore. And, what's worse, he feels he can't rely on his mother either. Marcus, looking at her, with a mixture of pain and anger, not knowing how to react. I didn't know I was doing everything wrong. Raquel, in a softer but firm tone. Marcus, you're so afraid of losing control that you've forgotten what really matters. Arthur's love for you won't disappear, but you need to show that you're willing to fight for it. It's not too late, but it has to be now. Otherwise, it will be too late. While the tension between Marcus and Raquel grows, Arthur is in a more isolated place in the house, in his room, trying to understand everything that has happened. He's still confused, and the pain of Helena's estrangement is still in his chest. He feels as if he's losing everything around him, without understanding the real reason. Arthur, thinking while looking at the window, lost in his own thoughts. I just wish things could go back to the way they were before, but I can't seem to have that. I just wanted Dad to love me. I just wish Mom and he wouldn't fight anymore. I don't want anyone to be away from me anymore. The little boy leaves his room and goes out into the garden. He watches the sunset, as if hoping that the answers he was looking for would come with the night. But as he thinks, something seems to flare up inside him. He needs to do something. He needs to express himself. He can't let the situation take a turn he can't control. He approaches the pool, where Raquel finds him a few minutes later. Raquel, with concern, seeing him outside. Arthur, are you all right? Where were you? Arthur, looking at her with his eyes wet with tears. I don't want anyone to fight anymore, Mom. I just want Dad to love me again. Raquel, hugging him tightly, feeling her son's pain. I know, darling, I know. And we're going to do everything we can to make things right. But you need to help me. You need to be strong now, more than ever. Arthur, voice shaking. I will be, Mom, but I just want Dad to forgive me, for him to understand that I never meant to hurt him. I just wanted Helena back, and the family. I just wanted our family back. Raquel, looking into his eyes with an expression of love and firmness. We're going to make it, my love. We're both going to make it, I promise. Finally, the day of the final confrontation arrives. Raquel knows that the truth needs to be told, and she can no longer protect anyone from their own actions. She calls Marcus, Helena, and Arthur into the great hall of the house, where it all began. They need to sort things out once and for all, and Raquel has no more patience for lies and fears. Raquel, with a determined but gentle look. Marcus, I know you're afraid of losing control. I know you're afraid of losing Arthur, but you're making one mistake after another. You're pushing our son away, and you're also pushing Helena away, who has never done anything to hurt you. You need to trust the people who love you, and above all, you need to trust your son. He loves you. Marcus, looking at her, in silence, his eyes wetter than he had ever imagined they would be. I never wanted to hurt you, or Arthur, or Helena. I just didn't know what else to do. Helena, with a look of pain and compassion. Marcus, I never wanted to be a threat. I always wanted to help. I love Arthur, and he's like a son to me. Please understand that. Arthur, running up to Helena and hugging her. Helena, I'm so sorry for everything. I love you. You're my friend. Don't leave me. The tension in the room dissolves for a moment, but the pain is still there. Marcus finally realizes that the only way to regain his son's trust is to admit his mistakes, open up to others, and learn to listen. But the lesson he is learning is difficult, and it may be too late to mend the wounds. After the confrontation in the Great Hall, the atmosphere in Marcus' house remains charged. Raquel watches her husband, now vulnerable, still trying to understand how he got to this point. Arthur is with Helena, hugging her tightly, as if apologizing for something that wasn't his fault. Marcus remains silent, the words weighing on his mind, but he still doesn't know how to apologize, how to repair the pain he has caused. Raquel, looking at Marcus, with an expression of weariness, but also of hope. Marcus, now is your chance to make peace with Arthur, to really get close to him again. He needs you, but he needs to feel that you are there, that you are willing to let him into your heart without fear. Marcus, in a low voice, as if he were discovering himself in a broken mirror. "I don't know where to start, Raquel. I've made so many mistakes, and I've pushed Arthur away from me, in a way that may be irreparable." Raquel, approaching him, placing her hand on his in a gesture of support. "It's not irreparable, Marcus. Nothing is irreparable when there is genuine love. Now, more than ever, you need to be honest with him, with yourself. There's no more room for lies. Your son needs to know that you love him, and most importantly, you need to listen to what he has to say." Silence takes over the room. Marcus looks at Arthur, who is still in Helena's embrace, as if searching for something, an embrace that didn't seem to be his. But now, seeing his son attached to someone else, he begins to understand the depth of the mistake he made. He realizes that he can no longer let fear and pride control his actions. Later that day, Marcus decides that he is going to look for Arthur. He feels engulfed by guilt, but knows there is no more time to lose. He has to make things right, at least try, before it's too late. He finds Arthur in the garden, again watching the sunset, as if waiting for an answer that never comes. The boy, sensing his father's approach, doesn't turn around immediately, as if fearing yet another disappointment. Marcus, trying to swallow his pain, his voice hoarse. "Arthur, son, can I talk to you?" Arthur, looking at him with a sad look, but still with a slight desire to get closer. "I knew you'd come, Dad. I knew you wouldn't leave me like this, but you have to promise me that you won't leave me again. I don't want Helena to leave. I don't want to lose anyone, Dad. I just wanted our family back." Marcus, feeling the weight of his words, his eyes full of regret. I made a mistake, Arthur. I hurt you, and I have no excuses for that. I let fear and insecurity take hold of me, and I pushed you away unintentionally. I saw your confidence breaking down, and instead of getting closer, I did everything I could to push you further away. I failed you, and everyone. But I promise that I will fight to win back your love, to be by your side, for real. I just need one chance. Arthur, with his eyes still full of tears, but now with a slight hope on his face. I just wanted you to listen to me, Dad. I just wanted you not to be afraid. I just wanted you to know that Helena never wanted to hurt us. She just wanted to be good to me. Me too. I just wanted to be good to you. Marcus, kneeling in front of him, touching his face tenderly. I know, son, and I promise you that I'll try to be better. I'll be better for you, for our family. I love you, Arthur. I'll strive to be the father you need. They stand there in silence, Marcus, eyes still full of regret, but also with the hope that everything can be rebuilt. Arthur wipes away his tears, feeling, for the first time in a long time, that he can trust his father again. Meanwhile, Helena continues in her position as an observer, waiting for the moment when Marcus would finally surrender to the reality of what had happened. She had always known that he wasn't a bad man, but his insecurities and fears had distorted the way he treated everyone around him. Even so, Helena still didn't know if she would ever be able to be part of Arthur and Marcus lives again. But when Rachel meets her in the garden, the concern on her face is clear. Raquel, with a gentle but understanding smile. Helena, do you have a moment? I'd like to talk to you. Helena, with a tired look, but still full of compassion. Of course, Raquel. What do you need, Raquel? With a deep sigh, before sitting down next to Helena. I know you're in a very difficult position, and I just want to thank you for everything you've done for Arthur. I know you never wanted to hurt us, and as hard as it was, I also see the value you brought to his life. Arthur needs you, and Marcus now understands that you were never the threat he imagined. Helena, with tear-filled eyes, but a sad smile forming. I just wanted to help. I've always tried to be good to him. I don't know if it's too late to fix all this. Raquel, holding her hands with empathy. It's not too late. Arthur loves you, and Marcus is now seeing things from a different perspective, but he needs your help, Helena. He needs to know that you still want to be part of his life. Helena, with a sigh, feeling a faint hope ignite in her chest. I've always wanted to be part of his life, and maybe I still have a chance. In the days that follow, Marcus, Raquel, Helena, and Arthur begin to rebuild the broken bonds, with many challenges ahead. Marcus still has a long way to go, but he begins to understand what it means to be vulnerable, what it means to really listen and be there for the people he loves. Arthur feels that, for the first time, his family is truly together. Helena is once again a constant presence in his life, but now not as a threat, but as someone he can trust. The story of Raquel, Marcus, Arthur, and Helena is still being written, but what is clear is that even in the midst of so many difficulties and mistakes, love and forgiveness have the power to heal the deepest wounds. And perhaps the biggest challenge of all is learning to trust again. The days after the final confrontation were marked by small victories. Every gesture Marcus made to reconnect with Arthur, every sincere conversation he had with Helena and Raquel were like small steps towards a future that once seemed impossible. The house, which had once been marked by tense silence and arguments, was now filled with a kind of peace that was still fragile but visibly present. Marcus, thinking as he watches Arthur play with Helena in the garden with a smile on his face, I never imagined it would be like this. So difficult, but also so necessary. How could I have been so blind? How could I have thought that what I wanted to control was more important than what really matters? Raquel, next to him, looks at her husband with a mixed expression of weariness and hope. She knows that the road ahead will still be long, but for the first time, she feels that they are heading in the right direction. Raquel, gently touching Marcus' arm. I always believed that you were capable of change, Marcus, and now, finally, you're doing it. I see in you the father Arthur always wanted, and I know that, with time, things will get better. Marcus, looking at her, his eyes full of gratitude. I still have a lot to learn, Raquel, but I'm ready to try, and I know it won't be easy. But if there's a chance to win Arthur back, to win back our family, I'll do whatever it takes. I just hope he gives me that chance. While Marcus and Raquel begin to reflect on the changes, Helena also goes through a moment of introspection. She feels that, despite all the mistakes and misunderstandings, she has the right to start again. But does she really have the place she so desires in Arthur's life? Helena meets Marcus in a quiet corner of the house, where the atmosphere is serene, almost like a refuge for difficult conversations. Helena, with a tense but sincere expression, I know you're afraid, Marcus. I understand your pain, but I also understand how much Arthur needs you. I've always wanted to be there for him. I've never wanted to interfere. I just want to know if you really see me, not as an obstacle, but as someone who can help, as someone who will support Arthur in everything he needs. I don't want to be a threat. I just want him to grow up in a loving environment. Marcus, looking at her, with calmer eyes, and for the first time, without that guarded anger. Helena, I know you never wanted to be a threat, and, more than anything, I know how much you care about Arthur. But I also know that we need you here, by our side, so that he feels safe. I was wrong, and I'm willing to learn to trust again. I won't let fear control my choices anymore. Helena, with a slight sadness, but also a smile of relief. I just want to see Arthur happy. If that's possible, I'll be here for him. For both of you. For all of us. They both look at each other in silence, as if they knew that this moment of understanding was just the first step towards a more peaceful future. It won't be easy, but with time, perhaps everything will fall into place in a new and healthier way. While Marcus and Helena talk, Arthur is in his room, reflecting on everything that has happened. He knows that his life will never be the same, but he also feels that something very good is beginning to emerge. Deep down, he believes that the biggest challenge is not to forgive, but to understand the complexity of what it means to be a family. However, there is a secret that still weighs heavily on Arthur's heart, a secret he has kept to himself for days, but which now needs to be revealed. He finally decides to tell the truth about what really happened on the day of the arraignment. He approaches Raquel with a serious but determined look on his face. Arthur, with a sigh, as he looks at Raquel with sincerity in his eyes, I need to tell you something that nobody knows, but which could change everything. I know that Dad and Helena had a fight because of a lie, but I know what happened. Raquel, wide-eyed, a little alarmed. What are you saying, darling? Arthur, taking a deep breath, feeling a weight come off his shoulders. I saw everything. Mom, I saw what really happened the day Dad accused Helena. I saw when he thought Helena was lying to him. But the truth is, he didn't understand what she was trying to do. She was just trying to protect us. I know he got scared, but it wasn't Helena who caused it. It was his fear of losing everyone, of being betrayed. But he was wrong. Raquel, looking at Arthur with an expression of shock and emotion. Arthur, this is so important, but why didn't you tell me before? Arthur, voice shaking, but with the truth now coming out without fear. I didn't want to make him feel worse. I just wanted him to know that, deep down, I've always loved him, and I didn't want him to be even sadder. He's wrong, Mom. I know he's done bad things, but I still love him, and I don't want to see him alone. Raquel, hugging her son, with tears in her eyes. I know, my love. I know how much you love your father, and believe me, it will help you to see the truth. We all need to learn to deal with fear, but the only way to overcome it is with love and trust. And now Marcus will know that. He will understand. With the truth finally revealed, Marcus is faced with a crossroads. He knows how much fear and insecurity have damaged his life, but he also understands that the only way to mend his ways is to face his own demons. He can no longer allow the shadows of his past to control his choices. Marcus, alone in his office, looking out of the window, deep in thought. I made a mistake. I was wrong with Arthur, with Raquel, with Helena. But the worst thing is that I was wrong with myself. I've lived so long in fear of losing everything that I've almost lost what really matters. I need to be more than the man I tried to be. I need to be the father that Arthur deserves. And above all, be the man I could always have been. He looks at the photo of his family, now in his hands, and makes a decision. He knows what he has to do. Marcus leaves his office, determined, with a new strength in his heart. The final scene takes place in the garden of the house. Arthur, Raquel, Helena, and Marcus are together. Perhaps not completely healed, but with enough to take the first step. They are no longer the family they were before, but they are a new version of themselves. A version that is stronger, more honest, and finally able to get back on its feet. Marcus, with a sincere smile, holding out his hand to Arthur. Son, you were braver than I was, and you helped me understand what's really important. I love you. I know I may not be perfect, but I'll fight for you, forever. Arthur, taking his father's hand, with a shy smile. I know, Dad, and I love you too. The sun begins to set over the horizon, symbolizing the end of one cycle and the beginning of another. And as the family embraces, the future finally looks brighter.